Yeah, go ahead, just because then I'll forget.
Yep, it's recording. I
Sweet.
think it says
Yeah,
recording. So yeah.
yeah, it is. Hello, everyone that's popped in so far.
Mhm. I guess there'll be a lot of new faces since all these people are rather new.
Yeah, and you guys haven't, I don't think you trained anybody in October, did you guys?
Um,
Or did you do one more in October?
Sue Henderson. I think we did her
Oh, okay.
early October. Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
see.
Maybe that's, well, I don't even know if we've told everybody that you guys aren't training anymore,
That we're what?
that you guys aren't going to be training anymore, or at least for
Um,
myself.
we're slowing down
Yeah.
a little. Yeah, we just have to slow down.
Dude, it's a lot to train. Like when we were doing it all the time, I mean, it's a lot for the owners, it's a lot for the employees, like your managers. I mean, it's just
Mhm.
so it's a big role to take on. Mr.
Right.
Scott Bowles, what's going on? Look at that
No.
strange face.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
Have you met your newest Philly PA owner yet? She was
Um,
trained last week.
I saw the email. I did reply back to her, welcoming her to, it seems like Pennsylvania is kind
Coming on the map, huh?
of, I know, getting big.
It is. It's funny how that happens. It kind of just like fluctuates everywhere. I feel like that's kind of how it is right now in Utah. We've got like three owners in, Utah area, which is crazy. Where's New Mexico at? No, I'm just kidding. That's what I want to know. How come nobody in New Mexico's interested? Just kidding.
Oh, you never know. It'll be soon.
Yeah, hopefully. All right. Hopefully I'm not missing any emails coming in about asking questions. Let's see. And Rebecca, I don't know if you want to just, we'll give him maybe like a couple more minutes since it's only
Okay,
just
that's
before.
fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. And if they know it's being recorded, they may not show up anyway, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Sometimes that does happen.
Mm.
I don't know. I feel like everybody is really kind of pumped up for this one. I shared it with some of the other coaches. That's how Scott Bowles got on because I offboarded him a long time ago. So, the other coaches were able to recruit some last people last minute too, which is good.
Yeah, good.
Oh, no. Yes. There we go.
I'm filling up the screen.
Yeah, now they're popping in here. Hi, Caesar.
Cherie, how's it going?
Oh my God, it's going so good. Oh, my old rookies.
Yeah, back at it again, still learning.
Hey, you're always going to be learning in this business.
Yeah.
Ask Rebecca. I'm sure she's still learning every day too.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, every day.
Every day. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started just because we're 2 minutes in. Everybody, this is Rebecca Beard. Part,
Hi.
one of two. She's Andy's better half, we'll say, out in the Augusta, Georgia area. So today she's going to be our guest speaker and she's going to talk about all things jewelry and gold and sterling and diamonds and coins and just kind of giving you guys the ABCs 101, how to get yourself a little bit better prepared for those auctions when they come up and how to present them and sell them and just get top dollar for all those lots coming through. So welcome, Rebecca. Thank you for doing this. And
Thank
I will
you.
go ahead and pass over to you. I know you need all the seconds and minutes you can get in
Okay.
the
I know
presentation.
I'm going to try to stay very much on task here. Got my little
Yes.
timer going. Okay. All right. So let me just share my screen. Not that way. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm just here to share what I've learned in the last 5 years from doing this. I'm not an expert in everything, but neither are you. So I'm just here to give you the tips on what to do with us non-experts. So, well, I'm assuming you're not an expert, just saying you might be. All right. So just a reminder that this is only for use within the carrying transition system. Put that legal thing in there. All right. So, why does it matter? Obviously, jewelry, coins, and sterling silver are your money makers. So, let me know if you hear like feedback from me. I don't know if you can hear. So I'm trying to get it where I can see it best. Sorry about that.
If everybody real quick could just mute themselves, because we are like, I don't want to call you out, but Liz and Christine, yeah, if you guys can all just kind of thank you, just mute yourself. That way we can, I get any of that feedback.
Okay. All right. So these are just a few of our jewelry, coins, and sterling silver that have done well. So I mean, you can see if you miss something, if you overlook something small, you could be missing out on a lot of money. So like the, black South Sea pearls with appraisal went for 5,000, Morgan silver dollars for 4,600. And of course, this is Tiffany and Company, so it's going to go for a little bit more, but that's the sterling silver tea set. So if you miss markings, and that's what I get onto my team about all the time, like if you're not sure, have somebody else look, just look for the markings, take pictures of the markings. So, all right. So, oops. Okay. So one of the biggest tools is a magnet. So if silver and gold are not magnetic. So if you can, sorry, I had to close out my distraction up here. So silver and gold are not magnetic. So as long as you have a magnet and you're putting it, like you can just stick it in the middle of a jewelry box, whatever clings to that magnet is not going to be worth taking the time to look for a marking on it. So that's an easy way to kind of do your initial sorting. Now, so I tell my team, if it sticks to a magnet, go ahead and take a picture of it. If it does not, it does not mean that it does not mean that it is silver or gold. It means you have to look closely for markings. So like aluminum, doesn't stick to a magnet either, but it's not silver or gold. So it just means those are the ones that you need to look closely for the markings. So over here, you'll see, so a clasp, and this is where you learn from the bidders. So I put as much information as I can in there. So I had a bracelet one time and, the bracelet was marked 14K, the clasp was marked 14K, but the clasp kept sticking to the magnet. And so I just put that in there. And so one of the bidders wrote in and said, oh, that's because the spring inside the clasp is not 14 karat gold. And so see, you learn from your bidders too. But so that's one thing. But I would still, like if that happened today, I still say, the clasp is marked 14 karat gold, but it does stick to a magnet. This may be why. So, all right. So this is where you're going to find some of the markings. They are tiny, especially on gold. The sterling markings are a little bit easier to find generally, but the gold ones are tiny. Sometimes they're on the part that you move to open the clasp. Sometimes they are like up under a bent portion, so you really have to look for them. But if I really think something is gold, I will sit there and look for 5 minutes to find the marking on it because it's worth it. I mean, that's a huge amount of money, the difference between something being gold and not gold. Sometimes for earrings, the marking is on the earring back, but it's not on the earring post. As long as the earring back looks like it goes with that earring, like it's the original backs, I will just go ahead and just tell the bidders that. Just say, the marking was found on the earring back. We didn't notice it on the post, but they appear to be the original backs. but a lot of times it will be on the actual post. And sometimes the markings are so small, it just looks like little scratches if you're looking, you know, with the naked eye. So you have to, like, if you see little scratches, get a magnifying glass out and look to see if you see any markings. So on the back of this earring, it says 14K GF. Okay, so that's an example of something that's gold filled, which we'll get into shortly. But, you know, if you don't know enough about the markings, you'll just see that 14K and say, oh, these are 14 karat gold earrings, but they're actually not. So, all right, there's a lot on the screen, so I'm gonna try to focus over here first. You always want to make sure that you weigh your precious metals, and use the word approximate. So, you know, you'll say this item weighs approximately 3.17 grams. If you don't put approximately and somebody gets the item and it's ever so slightly off, I've had 2 or 3 people, I mean, over 5 years, but still, I'll have people who will contact me and say, oh, no, you said it weighs 3.17 grams. I'm showing it weighs 3.1 gram or whatever. And they will sit there and calculate out the difference and the gold value and want a refund for that part. So just put approximate and then you avoid all of that. So basically, anytime you see 3 numbers, pay attention. So for instance, like 14 karat gold is also labeled 585. And that's very common to see 585. And that's because that's the percentage of, this one's not exact, but it's like 18 karat gold it will be marked 750 and it is 75% gold. So, you know, 24 karat is marked 999 at times because it's 99.9% gold. So anytime you see 3 numbers, a lot of times it's talking about the percentage of gold or silver in an item. And that's very important. And like, if you're weighing things, if you have multiple things in a lot and some of them are 14 karat gold, some are 10 karat gold, weigh them separately because they're worth different amounts. So people will be looking at that. So silver is a lot easier than gold because silver, you're either going to see.
Sorry, but I can't hear. Someone's not muted.
Somebody would buy these. They would buy the thing, yeah.
Natalie, can you mute your phone? I shot you a text right now. I don't think you got it though.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. I don't know what you didn't hear, but anyway, basically, when you see 3 numbers, make sure that you're paying attention because a lot of times it's talking about the amount of gold or the amount of silver in the item. You know, for example, 18K is marked 750 because it's 75% gold. Now sterling silver and silver in general is a lot easier to, there's not as many things that are going to mix you up. It's either going to say sterling, it's going to say STER, or it's going to be some form of 925. So it might be 0.925 or 92.5, or 999 if it's pure silver. I added that in right here, but that's pretty much it. There are some markings we'll talk about that are different, but like on jewelry, you're mostly going to see 925 or sterling. On like silver platters or silverware, it will usually have the word sterling written out. It very rarely says 925 on, you know, dishware type things. These are the ones, I put X's beside them. These are the ones that almost counteract the 14K. So if you see these markings, so if it says 14K GP or 14K HGE, all right, all of these are different ways of saying basically that it's plated. So if it's gold plated, the base metal is not gold. So it's not, I won't say it's not worth anything because it is worth something, but it's not worth you taking the time to weigh it. And it's not going to bring, like if you're trying to group things according to value, it's not going to get very much. But it does matter to the person wearing it because if somebody's buying it to actually wear it and not resell it, some of these tell them how long it's going to last, how long the plating is going to last before their finger starts turning green. So it, you know, it does matter, but it's not valuable. The one exception is KP for carat plum, and I do not see that very often. But so like if it says 14 KP, That's the exact percentage. So that means it is 58.3% gold. Now, I do not see that one very often, but when I see that, I will put in the description, this is marked 14 KP. We are assuming that means carat plum. Please do your own research prior to bidding, because I have had something that was 14K and it had a P underneath it instead of beside it. And I mentioned that that might mean that it was plated, but the person who bought it thought that it meant carat plum and he got mad about it. And I was like, I never said it meant carat plum. I said it may be plated. So that one's a little bit tricky. So, you know, I don't want people to think it's plated if it's not, because you're going to lose value. So that's why you just say, we're assuming this means this, and then let them figure it out.
Hold on one
On
second,
there.
Rebecca. Hey, Helsa, can you mute yourself, please, real quick?
Oh, sure. Sorry about
Okay,
that.
thank
I
you.
do
No, you're fine. I tried
apologize.
to message you. No, you're
I apologize.
Okay, can y'all hear me now? There we go. All right, so if you see 12K, just look carefully. There are some pieces out there that are 12K, but it is not very common. It's more in like antique pieces and pieces from like England and stuff like that. Usually now, if you see 12K on something, it's gold filled. So you have to really watch, because it'll say 14 karat, you know, roll gold plate, or 1/20th 12K. So just be careful when you see 12K and look extra hard for something, because it's probably not 12 karat gold. And again, with the fractions like 1/20th or 1/10, it's going to be gold plated. So, all right. Now, these type of markings, you may see them on silverware occasionally. They're more likely to be on like candelabras or bowls, a lot of the antique pieces. And there's a lot to those markings. There's no way you can memorize all of that. You do not have time to sit there and look up everything unless you think it's like super valuable, then you want to take the time to do it. But a lot of times if I see something like this, then now I've learned to recognize the walking lion, so that's different. Oh, sorry. But I'll just put a comment that just says, you know, please see all markings, because our bidders, those are the experts. They know the value of it, especially a lot of these who buy it to melt down. So they'll look at those and they'll figure it out and they'll bid accordingly. So that's the good thing, is you really don't have to know everything. As long as you take pictures of the markings, they're clear, they know to look for them, you'll be okay. Now, the reason why I say up here in this little box, you may want to use a service like Just Answer. And I'm not getting paid by them, but I think it's like $38 a month, but it is worth it. You can send them questions about anything. I mean, you may have like an antique, you know, lamp that looks different, or just something that looks unique, and you can say, hey, what can you tell me about this piece? And so that's a good place to go when you see a lot of these markings on something that you think may be valuable. So I had a candelabra in a sale. It was actually only a few months ago. And I was like, you know what? I bet this has markings on the bottom. And a lot of times it's under the felt. So I very carefully pulled the felt back, spent a lot of time doing it so I could find the markings. I saw the lion. I was like, oh, awesome. This is sterling. So I went on Just Answer to help, you know, to have them say, okay, well, what else do you know about this? And the guy's like, that's not sterling. And I was like, well, there's a lion on there. And he's like, yeah, but it's not sterling. So I'm like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. So then I asked another person, I was like, okay, I've already gotten one answer, but he obviously doesn't know what he's talking about. So can you tell me what you know? And he's like, no, it's not sterling. So even though there was a lion, there were other things there that told them it was not sterling. So it's good to ask Just Answer, or to put in the comment, you know, we see a walking lion. We are assuming that means it is sterling. Please look at all the markings and do your own research prior to bidding. So anytime you put do your own research prior to bidding, you are really taking a lot of weight off of you, because you're saying you figure it out. I'm telling you what I think, but you figured out before you bid. So, and you can, anytime you see something like this, I mean, you can just Google it, you know, what does the walking lion mean on a silver platter? And with jewelry, I'll do that a lot of times too. Like you'll see 3 letters. A lot of times that's just the person who made it or the company who made it. And you can just say, okay, all right, what does LGE on a gold ring mean? And it will usually tell you who the maker is. Okay, I'm not going to read all of this to you. It's just to show you some more of the markings for silver. So 950 is Britannia silver. Is actually, you can call it sterling, but it's like a slightly higher grade sterling. You would definitely want to weigh it. Coin silver is 90%. When you get down here in the 800s, like a lot of times things are just marked 800, and when it gets to be like that, like we had some silverware lately that, you know, it said 800 on it. And I just put, these pieces are marked 800. This may mean that they are 80% silver. Please do your own research prior to bidding, because I was like, I don't really know if that's what that means. I mean, it should mean that, but I don't know. So if you're not sure, tell them you're not sure. Like, I never want to say something that may take away the value if it is valuable, you know, but I don't, if I'm not positive, I don't want to say absolutely that it is that. You really open yourself up for returns and stuff like that at that point. So basically just put the thought of the value in the bidder's head and then let them do the research to really figure it out before they bid. Okay, and we had a bidder teach us about German silver too, because I weighed it, or one of our bidders or employees did. Anyway, German silver, here you go, here's the weight. And, you know, and they're like, you know, there's no silver in that, right? And I was like, well, it says German silver. Well, there's no silver in German silver. There's no silver in nickel silver. And alpaca silver is only 2% silver. So, and I do see alpaca on jewelry a lot. So just, again, take a picture of it. I mean, if you weigh it, it's not going to be a big deal. As long as you say, okay, this is German silver, you weighed it. You didn't say it was sterling. You said it was German silver. You showed that it was German silver. But you want to make sure you're not calling it like sterling silver in the title. A lot of times on platters and silverware, you'll see IS. Okay, that stands for International Silver, and that is a brand. So it does not mean it's silver, like as in pure silver or sterling silver. It's just a brand. Deep silver is just a marketing term that's used by International Silver. So it doesn't mean that either. If you see like inlaid silver, just look it up. I mean, I look up so much stuff. Even if I've looked it up before, I just look it up again because I don't want to say the wrong thing. Anytime you see EPNS, that's electroplated nickel silver. So as soon as I see that, I just quit looking at the markings because it's silver plated. So the value is not there. Okay. So obviously, like I said, you need to weigh. If you do not weigh your gold and silver, people are going to ask the weight. So then you're going to get bidder questions, and then you're going to need to go weigh it. So just try to remember to weigh it to start off with. But you really just basically need a regular kitchen scale. You can order them from Amazon. Obviously, they don't cost that much. But then you also need a smaller scale to weigh your gold items and your smaller pieces of jewelry, because gold is so valuable that even like a portion of a gram matters. But again, I always say that the weight is approximate. And before we used the jewelry scale, the smaller one, I would put gold pieces on the kitchen scale and it just said 0. And I was like, okay, well, it's less than a gram. They're going to know it's less than a gram. But actually, if you read like the paperwork that came with one of these said, you know, if it's less than 3 grams, it's not accurate. So, you know, you may be putting something on there that's 1.5 grams of gold, but it's still registering as 0. So you definitely do want to buy. I mean, these are not very expensive. So you do want to buy a smaller one to weigh your gold, and just have, you know, a more exact measurement. Now, if you notice the one on the screen, it has a blue background. That is a pain when you're taking pictures. I do not recommend the ones with the blue background. So just scroll through Amazon until you find one that has more of, you know, like a darker gray background to it. When you're trying to take pictures of the one with the blue background, you're looking at it and you're taking the picture and you're seeing it in front of you. But then when you actually publish the lot, you can't really see it. It's just, I guess your cameras or something's tried to compensate for it. So it just kind of blurs it out. Now you don't have to show the scales. You can say, this weighs approximately 1.75 grams or whatever. But I like to show it on the scale sometimes. It just adds more validity to it. Okay, these are the magnets that I use. They're not expensive. You can get them at Home Depot. But like if you just take a magnet off your refrigerator, it may not be strong enough to really do the job properly. So, I mean, they don't cost very much. They're in the specialty connection or specialty connector section. So I had trouble finding them. I had to walk around for a while. So look for the specialty connectors. They're over there. Okay. Now I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this gem tester. It's not dummy proof enough for me. Like I would love to be able to just touch a stone and like there's a digital readout that says, that's London blue topaz. Okay, as far as I know, that does not exist anywhere. But I did talk to a jeweler at our jewelry store that I used to take some things into, and he recommended this brand. I know some other owners who use this brand. So it is a good brand, but you have to almost know what you're looking at and you're using this to validate it. Because like if you're looking, like some of these, I don't know if you can see it, but like some of these little lines that you're supposed to be reading on like the gauge, they overlap a little bit. So if you don't have an idea of what the stone is, it's going to be hard for you to figure it out.
Hey,
So what
Rebecca.
I do,
Hey, it's Todd. I have one of these and I use it quite a bit. And I'll tell you what I do is I just put a video of it on there and let them decipher what it is.
right. And so like this one right here this is where it's kind of hard to take a picture of it and hold it at the same time. This particular one, I just had Andy take a picture of it, or maybe I'm not coordinated. I don't know. But you can just show the picture and say, here, this is what just have them look at the picture and they can figure out what it is. But if you do not want to buy these, because they are close to $300, in the beginning, you don't have to have it. Like you can just say, this is a red gemstone. This is a blue gemstone. It's okay to do that. And I did that for a long time. And there are times when I still do that. But this does help. Like if you're wanting to distinguish a ruby from garnet, because garnet's way over here, ruby's way over here, but you have to be careful because it kind of overlaps with topaz. But but the reason why I bought this is because of this piece. So this was like a Chinese scepter, and the employee put down that it was hard glass, and I was like, hard glass. And I knew this person had like stuff from all over the world, like very expensive things. And she asked the daughter, and the daughter was like, I don't know. So I ordered this, and of course with Amazon, it's there in like 2 days. And I went and tested it, and we think it was nephrite, but it still went for $3,000. We had another piece in the home that was the same color, and it had an appraisal with it, and it said it was nephrite. But just having this picture kind of validated what it was, and it would not have gone for $3,000 if we put, that it was hard glass. So, okay, so these are the ones I use, these magnifying glasses. They're not perfect. You may find a better one out there. It does have a nice light on it. One thing I like about this one is they're cheap enough to give out so everybody has one, and they do have a UV light on them. So when you're looking at uranium glass, it does glow under a black light. So then everybody has a little tiny black light with them. So they can kind of verify what's truly uranium glass versus just, something that's yellow. Okay. Now, here's the gold. I'm not going to say this one's not dummy proof. You just have to make sure you understand what it's testing. So the gold tester, I do like this one, but the way that you generally use it it's only testing the exterior surface of the item. So if it's plated in 14 karat gold, it's going to register as 14 karat gold. So I use this more to verify markings. So like if you have a heavy gold chain that you know is going to be worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars, I will use this, like it may be marked 14K, but then I'll use this just to say, okay, we also use the RS miser. The exterior is registering as 14 karat gold, which goes along with the marking. It's just kind of to say, okay, well, this isn't something that somebody got from, you know, a flea market and they're trying to sell it as 14 karat gold. So it just adds a little bit of validity. Another time this is good to use is like if a ring has been sized, sometimes the marking has been destroyed or manipulated. So, you know, if you have a ring and it's got, you know, several really nice quality diamonds in it, tested it, you know they're diamonds, but you don't see a marking on the ring itself, you can use this and say, okay, you know, this ring has possibly been sized. We do not see any markings. The exterior surface is registering as, and then whatever it says. But if you don't see a marking, you can't say it's whatever gold unless you're taking it like to a jeweler to verify, you know, because basically you have to cut into it and do like an acid test. And I'm not going to do that on anybody's jewelry. But as long as you just put in there, you know, understand this only tests the exterior, you'll be fine. You do need a ring sizer. I highly recommend that. If you don't have one until you can get one in, or if all of your employees don't have one and they need one out in the field, you can take the ring and put it directly on a ruler and just make sure you've got it like centered on there and take a picture straight down so they can kind of get an idea of that size. As far as diamond testers go, if you go just look up diamond tester on Amazon, you're going to see a bunch of them. I think they're all the same. They all probably come from the same factory. They just put different names on them. So it doesn't really matter what you get as long as it looks like this. Again, read the instructions. So the smaller the diamond is, the higher up you start that little bar. So just read the directions, play with it a little bit until you're comfortable. Sometimes diamonds are very, very small and you're going to be hitting metal at the same time as the diamond. In those cases, I say, you know, I've learned to listen to it and you look at all the other clues to figure out whether you really think it's a diamond or not. And then you can say, you know, we tested it. We do think this is a diamond. However, it's hard to be 100% certain because it is so small, you know, and it's hitting metal at the same time. Okay. These are the backdrops we use. You can use any kind of backdrop you want, but black really makes, you know, your jewelry pop. This is a good size. You don't want to just get like a black. If you go to Walmart and get a black tablecloth, sometimes the design or whatever's woven into it is going to, like, your camera's going to focus on that instead of on what you're actually trying to take the picture of. So you want to get a backdrop with like a tight weave to it. You can also use white tempered glass. Oops, sorry. White tempered glass. There's some desks at Costco that I really like, and they're just tempered glass desk, and they're like the sit and stand, you know, you can adjustable height. But if you can get some natural lighting and some sort of glass that's over something white, then it makes for some really nice pictures. Okay, light boxes. Some people like them, some people don't. I don't like them. So, but there may be times when you want to use them, and that's fine. Sometimes with jewelry, I think it's actually too bright. I've had to like put a pillowcase in between the light and this stuff. Anyway, to me, it's not worth it. But if you want to try it, you can try it. Some people love them. Just get some basic props. You don't always have to have your jewelry on props, but I mean, like displaying a necklace on a nice necklace stand is, I mean, it looks good. You may want to keep some lint rollers nearby. Try to keep these in a box or something just to keep the dust off of them because they will show every little speck of dust that's around. These are nice for earrings. most of these you can get at just like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. These I ordered, and these I ordered. And you want to take note of this brand because it's hard to find these on Amazon if you're just searching for ring displays. But I like these because you can angle it exactly like you want to. So I find these to be better than just the, the ones that look like fingers. So I really like those, and they're not expensive. Okay, now, sometimes to get the best pictures, you have to get out of the app to take your pictures, especially if you have a black background. So this is actually something I sent a screenshot to my project supervisor saying, remember, get out of the app sometimes for these things. So this was the picture that the photographer took. And I actually went and got the jewelry from the place, brought it back because there were so many pictures that were washed out. And I'm like, we're not doing it justice. Like, who would want to buy that? You can't even tell what it is. So then when I took the pictures outside of the app, obviously the background is a lot richer. You can see the diamonds more, and it just makes it look like something somebody's going to want to buy. So these, I just took these pictures really quickly. It's not the perfect example, but I just wanted to show you what I do. So when I pull my phone up, if you tap the screen, you usually get this. So you can adjust the exposure. So all you have to do is just slide it to the left a little bit or slide it down, and it darkens that background. Diamonds are a little bit tricky. I usually take, I don't know, I may take 5 or 6 pictures to try to get the right cover photo for diamonds. Just play with it. But that is a tip. If you're finding that your photos are looking washed out with the black background, at least get out of the app to do the cover photo, just so you get people, to open that item. So here's an example of one that was done in the field, and she did it. I mean, the lighting just wasn't great. And I mean, sometimes that happens. Sometimes lighting is very tricky, but because she was doing it in the app and she didn't get out of the app, this is what it looked like. Now, I mean, people will still click on it. They'll still look through it and see the pictures, but it's very different when you see this versus seeing things like this. So that's just a little tip. All right, for coins, you can use CoinSnap. There is a free version and there's a paid version. When you go into CoinSnap, it's going to make you try to register. Just keep hitting X's till you just get to the free version. There's a free one, I promise. It's okay, but it is just AI generated information. So it will take a picture, you just take a picture of the front and the back, and it'll say, okay, this is an 1889 CC Morgan silver dollar. But it's not going to catch errors. And error coins, there's a lot of money in error coins. So you can do some research on those. But basically with the high value coins, you have to make sure that you get enough pictures. You've got to get close. The mint marks matter on coins. So like the reason why these went so high is because of the CC, which stands for Carson City. So there were not many Morgan silver dollars, at least for this year, that were made in Carson City. So that upped the value tremendously. But every mark, some of these Morgan silver dollars, you count the tail feathers. I mean, there's all different kinds of things, but you don't have to know that. As long as you are taking good pictures, then the people who are bidding on it they'll know. But you just got to zoom in so they can see, what parts are worn, what parts are not. They can tell if they've been washed. Don't wash the coins, by the way. They can tell if they've been washed and that kind of thing. So, you may take 20 pictures of 2 coins, just trying to get all the little details in there. Okay, there's a lot on here, but I just want to put down some general things. You can use Google Lens, do some quick research, familiarize yourself with the concept of error coins, and you can look it up by year. So you can say, okay, the 1920 Morgan silver dollars, what errors do I need to be looking for? And, it will come up. But again, as long as you take enough pictures, the bidders can do some of that. You do need to photograph the front and back of every coin. So if you're doing a decent sized lot, because they're not like super high value, go ahead and take a picture of all of them. And then you can put them in groups of 6 and just take, a picture of the front, flip them all over, take a picture of the back. So you don't have to do them individually, but you do want it where they can zoom in and at least see like the mint marks on there. Check the sides of the coins, especially collector coins. Sometimes there's a serial number on the edge or some kind of writing, some kind of statement that's written on there. Some coins are fine silver or gold. You do want to weigh those. Some of them will say, 1 troy ounce fine silver. You don't need to weigh those. But if it doesn't have a weight, but it's saying it's fine silver, then you want to weigh it. And this is another time when having a service like Just Answer comes in handy if you have some high value coins. And it is okay to say in the description, based on our online research, we believe this might be blah, 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 blah. Please do your own research prior to bidding. So again, you're saying, we think this, but we're not positive. So you figure it out before you bid. All right. And these are just tips in general. Tell what you know and what you don't know. Give as much information as possible on items that might be of high value. Photograph all the details. Anything that's tiny, just photograph it. If it's too small to photograph, explain what you see. Again, always weigh your gold and silver. Now, you're going to get people asking all the time about diamonds. They'll say, okay, what's the carat weight? I don't know. I mean, you can buy little things to help you figure out the carat weight. You can buy calipers to say how many millimeters, and all of that's fine, but you're still going to have to say it is approximately this, because just human error. I mean, it's not exact. But I just usually, if I don't think it's super, super valuable, then I will just lay it on top of the ruler and say, this is the size. I'll put in the description, we do not have the carat weight. That way they won't contact me asking me about the carat weight. And I'll just say, see the ruler, see the stones up against the ruler to get approximate idea of size. Now, if you have a nice solitaire and you think that's going to be worth, $3,000 or $4,000, I mean, or more, you may want to take it to a jeweler and find out some more information. Sometimes you can take it in there and just ask them and they'll tell you. You don't have to get an appraisal, but I've had them sit there and write out, color, cut, clarity, their approximate value, what they would pay me for it. So you don't always get people that nice, but sometimes they'll do it. Okay, these are just some examples of some of the things we've taken pictures of and sold, obviously. So this was a 14 karat gold pocket watch. And the reason why I knew who the designer was is because of this marking right here. So if you see this one, it says 14K. It's got the 0,585. So there's the 585 we were talking about. It has a squirrel. So this is when I learned, oh, the squirrel means 14 karat gold. And then they call this a hammer when I looked it up. But the hammer with the 132, when you look that up, that's how you figure out who the designer was in this case. A lot of times you'll see serial numbers or numbers stamped in there. You also sometimes will see numbers etched. So I always take a picture of those. I say, be sure to look for the etched markings in there. That might indicate dates. It may indicate, who assembled it. But as long as you take the pictures and draw their attention to it, they can figure that out. This is where the 14K marking is on this particular chain. A lot of times it's inside. So like if you have gold bangles, you need to open the bangle and look at the little safety catch, because a lot of times it's printed in there. So you have to look for them. Here's an example of when I weighed it 2 different ways. So if I can give them a pure gold weight, then I want to do that. So like the chain I could take off and it was 14 karat gold. So I weighed that at 8 grams. And then I weighed it all together at 24, because the weight of the pocket watch itself is obviously, it's not all pure gold because it's got the mechanism in there. So I just try to give them the information that I can. There was a PayPal dispute on this one because the person said basically I made it look too good, and he said it wasn't that good. So he said that the diamonds looked a lot bigger than they actually were. But I actually won this PayPal dispute because I had multiple pictures of it up against the ruler. So I had it here, I had it in front of the ruler, on the ruler, turned sideways on the ruler. And so I think they ended up giving him his money back, but they also gave me my money back. So let me keep it. So that was very nice. So anyway, just document it because I mean, obviously I showed them. It was not misrepresented. The little employee recognition pins. So we have DuPont's a company around here. A lot of times those are gold. Actually, I saw this when I was reviewing a sale and the house was not too far from me. And I was like, I know those are gold. So I actually went to the house and pulled them out because they're gold. Sometimes they'll have a tiny diamond in there. I put the DuPont pins are 14 karat gold and weighed both with and without the back since we're not 100% certain that the backs are gold. So I did not think they were gold. They didn't look the same. They didn't say 14K, but I didn't want to rule that out either because maybe somebody knows something I don't know. I didn't want to keep them from, paying if they thought they were gold. So I measured those also. This is just an example of a fine gold piece. So it says 1 ounce fine gold. Don't take them out of the protective case. Just leave them in there. Now with the Morgan silver dollars, one of them was in a case and but it was not a case like this. It was just one, that the person had bought and put it in there. I did take it out of that, but I wore gloves to take it out. But I wanted to show that there were scratches on the plastic case and not on the coin. And even if it's something like this one, you can turn it sideways and kind of get the angle and say, the scratches appear to be on the protective case and not the coin itself. Here's just another example of a gold ring. And then this one, I was very nervous about this. We didn't have time to do a lot of research on these, but I know that some of those older coins, like the widow mites and that kind of thing, there are counterfeit ones. And so I was telling Andy, I don't know what to do. Our employee went ahead and took pictures of them. The owner had written rare coins on the box. So that's what we called them, rare coins. So we didn't have time to do any research. And literally our description just said rare coins. And that was it. We took pictures of the front, back, detailed pictures. It went for $2,500. It was shipped out. They never asked for a refund. So I guess there were no problems. But that just goes to show you don't have to know what everything is as long as you take pictures. So I will stop sharing and turn it kind of back over to Sherry.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. That was super valuable. I think I answered the few questions that popped into the chat, but does anybody else have any questions right now for Rebecca? Maybe even how they're managing PayPal disputes and shipping and collecting payment, fraudulent. I just talked to a couple owners that had kind of dealt with that recently. So right now, guys, here's your chance. I know you got a lot of questions.
Rebecca, great presentation. Definitely, I learned a lot. I don't really do a lot of the jewelry, but it was a great insight once I do it. One of the questions I did have is like, how would you group things? Like, do you group it based on the similarity? Like if it was a coin or jewelry, how would you do you prefer doing it separately? If it's rings versus necklace and coins, etc. Like, how do you do that?
Right. Okay. And I really think there's no one right or wrong way to do it. Sometimes it depends on the sale. So we try to make sure our lots have at least $60 worth of value. So if we had a gold ring, that's obviously going to go for more than $60. So we would put it by itself. But sometimes you may have some costume jewelry that if you make it look nice enough, every now and then I'll just do this. So I'm like, okay, well, here's a nice set. I'm just going to make it look awesome. And it's not worth that much, but people will pay because it looks good. So, but yeah, I mean, normally we you can group the sterling things together. But sometimes you may want to put, you know, a few nicer pieces with some things that don't have that much value because you're kind of increasing the value of that lot. Sometimes when I get down, if we have like tons of jewelry and I get down to just like some vintage plastic jewelry, some things that's just, you know, I'm surprised people buy it, but they do. So I don't want to keep them from not buying it. But sometimes I'll do like a treasure chest. So I'll put a whole bunch of things together, but I'll leave out, like I'll leave some pieces for the treasure chest that, you know, are nicer. And so I'll say, okay, well, you know, this bracelet's sterling, you know, have a few nice pieces and say, okay, well, I guarantee that there's some sterling and some gold in the slot. And you don't have to tell them how much. And it'll usually go pretty high because, you know, but sometimes I'll be honest and I'll say, you know, we've gone through the jewelry and taken out the larger pieces of things, but there may still be other, you know, I don't want to lie and rip them off, you know, mislead them, but yeah, you can do that. But it really just depends. So like if we have huge sales that have tons and tons of jewelry, sometimes we may have to put 3 or 4 gold bracelets together just for the sake of time. Whereas normally we might split those up in a different sale. But what I found about gold and silver is people are going to buy that based on the weight. So if you make the lot too large, so to speak, it's okay. It's going to get the value by the weight in gold. Same thing with silver. You're going to get the value for the weight in gold. So does that answer it? Kind of.
I think so.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
I will say that pearls, I didn't talk about pearls. Pearls are tricky. And, you know, we have one employee and she's always like, well, roll your tongue on it. I'm like, I'm not putting this thing in my mouth. Like, I don't know where this has been. It's been sitting here for 50 years. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I mean, I look for clues. Like if it has a 14 karat gold clasp, then that's more likely to be something nice. If it has like the nicer, if it's true pearls, most likely they're going to be knotted in between each one. So if it pops, they don't all go flying out. Sometimes you can see little ridges in the pearls. Just take pictures, take close-up pictures. Again, just tell what you know. Unless I see a certificate of authenticity, I always say authenticity of pearls unknown. I'll go ahead and call them pearls, but I don't know. And I don't want anybody coming back and saying they weren't actually pearls. And one other thing too is be careful. Sometimes you'll find jewelry in a box, but it's not the box that was originally designed for that piece. So you need to be careful of that. So like it might be a Tiffany box, but have a Walmart piece of jewelry that somebody stored in there. So you just have to kind of watch and make sure things are making sense as you're putting things together. So.
Anybody else got any questions for Rebecca?
And how about like Sherry's comment regarding like the whole PayPal issues? How have you been dealing with that?
We're careful, and those have gotten a lot better since we implemented the whole credit card system. We did have somebody the other day, but it was just obviously suspicious. You know, if it's just, if they're pushing, like this person was like, oh, my credit card didn't go through. And then they're like, well, and so I was like, well, I'll send you a PayPal invoice. And then because we have been having some credit card issues, we'll send you a PayPal invoice. He's like, oh, I don't have PayPal. No, it's not working. And then he kept pushing for a phone call. And then finally we're like, all right, well, send us, you know, a picture of your ID and send us a picture of your credit card. And he's like, okay, I'll do that after you process it. I'm like, how dumb do you think we are? No, I mean, if you're not going to show us your ID, obviously you're not legit. So just look, I mean, sometimes it's just so obvious that it's, you know, not a good thing. But I know a lot of people do ask for a picture of their ID and a picture of their credit card, and it has to match up before they mail it. So.
Rebecca, do you guys dabble at all with the Excel sheet for the watch list or the band list? Are you guys interacting with that on a regular basis?
We used to, but honestly, it's a lot of that has gone away. It's really not a huge deal anymore. So you know, we look for anything that seems out of the ordinary. If it's a high value item, we'll look and see, okay, did the person register that day? You know, but if it's somebody who's got 100 paid invoices, then most likely it's not an issue. But, you know, if it is a new person, be a little more careful with, you know, asking for documentation and just watch for fishy things. So, but usually you're okay. But I mean, sometimes you're going to have, like we did have somebody, and it was a local person or kind of local within our state. And we mailed them a watch with diamonds. I think he paid like $238 for it. And then he filed a dispute and said, you know, not as described. And we're like, well, what's not as described? We tested it with a diamond tester. It says 14K on it. It is 14K. So that one's still kind of in limbo. Occasionally things are just going to happen. But, and like sometimes I'll see in the owners group, people say, oh, well, that's why I'm not going to put high value stuff on there. Don't do that. Just do it anyway, because the amount of money you're going to make overall by putting your stuff on there is going to far outweigh the $200 that somebody gets back one time that they shouldn't have gotten back. So
not only that, it's going to draw so many new like bidders to your platform, which is, you know, you want that as well.
And some people use like Legal Shield, I think, where you can send them, you know, legal notices of, hey, you know, you did something bad. But yeah, I wouldn't let it deter you from putting things on there.
Yeah, it definitely pulls a lot of draw to your guys' sales. I mean, there was a point where we stopped selling the valuables at our in-person sales because they were drawing more money on the auctions. So,
and we don't even do in-person sales.
Yeah.
We've done one in 5 years. So
yeah. You're leaving a lot of money on the table if you guys are just not selling those online, to be honest, because you're going to get into a bidding war. And sometimes these auctions for jewelry, gold, sterling, they're going higher than like the weighted value for it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And sometimes people, I mean, once they've set their mind that they're going to have it, I mean, we've had people, I'm like, you could have bought it new for, you know, for less than that, but okay, I'm glad you paid for it. But always mark that stuff shippable too. All the silverware, all the jewelry, always mark it shippable. We ship most of that out. The highest bidders are not local.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? We got about 5 minutes left. If not, we can catch it early, but I know this is a big, heavy topic for lots of you guys. It's very unknown, charted area, so.
I'll just say one thing. I just retired last year after working quite a few years at a jewelry store here. And take pictures, take pictures, take pictures. We, even in a jewelry store, they will bring in an item to be repaired and then they'll try to not pay for it because they'll say there's a scratch on it that wasn't there. You know, people will try things. And so as many pictures as you can have helps you in a dispute if it ever comes up. And it certainly doesn't hurt to have more pictures.
Absolutely. I agree.
Well, all right. Thank you very much, Rebecca. I appreciate
You're
this.
welcome.
Thank
Fielded
you.
lots of
Awesome.
questions via email
Great
from
job.
owners.
Okay.
Later on as it settles and it pops in their head, or if they do another jewelry sale coming up. But I appreciate it. I think this was really great. This is definitely my best turnout so far. So you're for sure the MVP of the RIISE webinar.
Thank you, Rebecca. It was
Thank
very
you.
good.
All right. Bye, guys.
Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody. I'll be
Bye.
sending the recording out soon along with her PowerPoint as well.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Mm.